Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. As of right now, Austin, we've officially caught up after all these trades. We'll have to see how we're doing once this video gets posted, but what an offseason.
Yeah. This is true also in the NHL. It's been a little crazy there, but this NBA offseason has been historic. And the fact that LeBron is on the move, there's also big trades still in the wait with Jalen Duren at least. I do think the Portland Trailblazers aren't done making moves. I think Scoot Henderson gets moved as well. Maybe the Knicks add somebody. I mean, there's a lot of moves that still are on the way, and that really does make me think, is this the best offseason of all time? The only offseason I can really think of is the offseason that had, I think it was 2019, and it was when Paul George went from OKC to the Clippers, and that is why Kawhi ended up going to the Clippers. So Paul George got traded to the Clippers from OKC. That obviously sent SGA to the Thunder, and then Kawhi, this happened at midnight right before July 4th. I think it was on July 3rd or whatever. I remember staying up late. I was out of town. And I saw, both Kawhi and Paul George are about to go to the Clippers. And obviously they didn't make it as far as they wanted to, but that still was a couple big moves that offseason. You also obviously think of the decision with LeBron or KD going to the Warriors. But if we're talking about everything that's happened, not just one big move, at least in recent memory, I cannot imagine one that's crazier than this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't. Just so many big-time players getting moved in trades. Some signings, like a LeBron signing, will happen with a different team. And a lot of teams changing their trajectory, I think. I think of the Hornets trading LaMelo Ball to the Timberwolves, trading a key piece like that. Also, you have Jaylen Brown going from the Celtics to the Sixers. Giannis as well. Half of these moves would make it a great offseason. But it is shocking to see. And it caused me to wonder, what is the cause of all of these moves happening right now?
Yeah, that's a great point. Do you think this could encourage more crazy off seasons in the future?
I'm gonna say no. I think this is a shift in time. A lot of people are pointing to the new salary cap. I also am pointing to the Spurs kind of mediocre rise to the NBA Finals. Even though they lost, this is going to be the weakest they're ever going to be. So I think teams are readjusting on that to see if they can compete with the Spurs, like the Timberwolves are trying to compete with them. And teams are taking time to build a stronger roster because of also the change in lottery. I think a lot of changes in the NBA are all happening at the same time, to where you can't really build your team like the Spurs or OKC did with tanking. That's going to be it's going to be more difficult than in years past of being bad, getting that top pick. I think you could try something and be bad and then you get a higher pick, but because of how everything's changed, it's harder. Why not go build a team through different avenues like trades versus just being a bad team?
Yeah. The draft is making this, or the new CBA is making this interesting, because if you draft too well, you almost are stuck in a situation where, yes, you need to kind of trade guys before you normally would. And I do think that allows some chances where, yes, they're going to be trying to move off the guys you wouldn't really expect them to, which I do think kind of is what's happened a little bit with the Celtics. Also, what happened with the Suns last offseason. And I also think this is something that we could see for a team like the Spurs because they have so many great young players. At some point, right, they're going to have to make a change, in my opinion, because they're not going to have the money to pay Wemby and Castle and Dylan Harper and everybody else, right? So that's where I kind of am wondering necessarily, will those type of teams try to make a move before those guys get too old, or will they try to stay pat and just basically play it out?
That's a good point. And I don't think San Antonio has those conversations just yet, but I think you're seeing those conversations happen with the Spurs or with the Thunder, where I could see them move either Chet or Jalen Williams because of all that draft capital that they have.
Yeah, I could see that.
So it really goes into. I think it's just a change from the previous CBA to this new CBA, and all the different modes of paying players and how much they get paid. So I don't think this is a constant thing. I think this is just teams adjusting from a previous era to a new era of financial constraint.
Yeah, but I do think that we won't see teams. I mean, OKC and Spurs are the ones that immediately come into my mind. I don't know if in 10 years will the Spurs still have Castle, Harper, and Wemby. I would say no.
I would agree with you. You bring up a good point of just how young they are, and it's going to place. I think you could see a lot more movement, which I don't think is bad, but the number of moves to me can make it more difficult for teams and seeing and just being like for the casual fan to remember. Oh yeah, Stephon Castle is now on, let's say, the Kings. In a few years when a
That
lot
would
of
be
teams, yeah,
nuts.
but like maybe Acuff gets traded or like something else to where there's just random players who are just constantly moving.
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever going to be this many moves, but I do think NBA off seasons are never going to be dull.
Yeah, I agree. And this one has been insane. And I'm sure something else is going to happen after we post this video or before we post this video.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders' Opinions.